Hello and welcome back to All Things Crafty. And Crochet Corner. I'm Yvette, and today we are going to crochet together a nice infinity scarf using a self-striping Mandala cake yarn. I had this one for a while and I just thought it would look nice worked up into a scarf. So that is what we will get started with, and I am going to do another true crime story time once we get going with the pattern. And so I have a great case to talk about today, so we will get started and get right into our case, our pattern first, then our case. Starting with our slip knot, we are going to chain 21. I actually decided to do chain 27 because I'm using a thinner yarn. When I did this pattern before, it was with the chunkier yarn, and so I chained 21. So I did 27, and this is going to be the width of the scarf. Third chain from the hook. Then chain 1, and then a double crochet in the same stitch. So I have a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. So then we skip 2 chains, 1 and 2, and in the third chain we're going to do the same thing. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, same stitch. Then skip 2, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. We're going to jump right into this case today, and this is the case of Brooke Skylar Richardson. And Brooke was an 18-year-old cheerleader. She was dating someone at the time. She had a boyfriend. She had an eating disorder also, which greatly concerned her parents. So they were really focused on how concerned she was about her weight. And she would do things like refuse to buy a pack of gum because it had, 1 calorie, things like that that concerned her parents. So, Brooke was going to a clinic where she was, getting birth control and things like that. And so prom night rolls around and Brooke starts having pains. She didn't know at the time, or maybe she did, that they were labor pains, but she was having regular pains that were getting really bad. So eventually that night, Brooke went home and her family went to sleep, and Brooke delivered a baby girl in her bathroom over her toilet. So according to Brooke, the baby stopped breathing, or the baby was born wasn't breathing, and she was wrapped in a towel. She took her into her backyard, grabbed a shovel, and buried her in the backyard. So her parents believe that the baby had to have been born stillborn because there's no way she could have delivered a baby in their bathroom without them hearing anything, any noises. So, um, the next morning, Brooke sends several texts out, which later will become very important because her text messages were to her boyfriend, basically saying, "Oh, good morning. I had the roughest night ever. I'll tell you about it later, but I am so inexplicably happy right now. I'm just so happy right now. Never been this happy before, and blah blah blah. And then she took a picture of her stomach and sent it to someone and said, "Hey, look, my belly's back." Which is kind of weird because when you have a baby, your belly's not really back the next morning, but okay, whatever. So then she's living life. 8 years later, I'm sorry, 8 weeks later, she goes to the clinic to get more birth control. And they said, "Well, what happened? You were pregnant the last time you were here." And she tells them, "Oh, the baby was born dead and I buried her." So, as you can imagine, the police were notified. Brooke's parents and her were notified, and at the uh, they were at the police station for her first of two interviews. So during the first interview, um, she admitted, you know, having a baby, and that the baby was born, wasn't breathing, so she didn't know what to do. So she just got scared and wanted to bury her, wrapped her in a towel and buried her. And so at the same time, they're digging up the remains in their yard. They have a whole team doing that. And then they allow the parents to come in and see her without letting them know that they're being recorded. And they're just telling her, like, "Oh, Brooke, how could you do this? Pregnancy isn't the end of the world. Why would you not tell us?" And she's hysterical the entire time. She says, "I'm sorry," literally every sentence. And she said um, that she just didn't know what to do. And they said, "Well, they're gonna," she's like, "I didn't kill her though. I didn't kill her. I didn't kill her." And so then she's like, "Well, they're gonna do an autopsy, and if they find that baby was alive, you are going to jail for murder." So she's even more hysterical. So anyway, the police, let her go home that day. And a forensic psychiatrist, no, I'm sorry, a forensic scientist tells the police, "Oh, there was some charring of the remains and that the baby was burned." So they bring Brooke back and they do a second interrogation. This one, they're going hard. "We know you burned the babies. Tell us why. Was the baby born alive?" And blah, blah, blah. So then, after hours and hours and hours of interrogation, she starts with, "Maybe I heard her gurgle. Maybe I heard." So she starts explaining there were signs of life. And then it stopped. And she wouldn't admit to the burning at first. And then the female officers holding her hand, comforting her, and, "Just tell us, just tell us. Did you think, did you try to just cremate her? Was that what it was about?" And so she's like, "Yeah, maybe I tried to cremate her a little." And they're like, "Well, how did you do it? Tell us how." So she said, "Oh, I just lit her with a lighter." And so, I mean, even though we know, or they know, that it's scientifically impossible to burn a baby. They're made of 80% water, and you can't just light a baby on fire with a lighter. That's not possible. So anyway, that was her story. And so now they're thinking, okay, this is a murder case. This baby was alive. She killed it, tried to burn it, and ended up burying her. So trial starts. And the defense, oh, sorry, I keep forgetting this part. Um, the forensic scientists 8 weeks later came back and said, "We were wrong. The remains weren't burnt. I made a mistake. There was no burning of the remains." So now the defense is like, "Okay, so with hours and hours of interrogation, you got this girl to admit to burning a baby she didn't burn. So maybe you got her to admit to saying there were signs of life when there really were none." So that was, the basis of their case. And the prosecutors were saying, no, she had no intention of having a baby. She didn't plan for it. She didn't tell anyone. She knew this baby wasn't getting out of this alive, and that this was all premeditated and this was all murder. So, um, through the trial, they had different people speaking, different specialists and scientists, and the text messages and the boyfriend and all of this. And so, um, it turns out it wasn't even her boyfriend's baby. It was her previous boyfriend's baby. So was a big mess with that. So then the verdict came down, and they found her not guilty of all of the aggravated murder and the harsher charges, and they only found her guilty of the abuse of corpse charge, the lesser charge. So she was found to have um, not murdered the baby, and she was basically gonna go home and be. The sentence was just a supervision parole type sentence. She did go into treatment for eating disorder, but she went home, and that was um, her sentence. The judge, the family asked for the baby's remains, and the judge did give them that, so they gave her proper burial. And then the Skylar went on to enroll in college, and she as frequently puts fresh flowers on the baby's grave. And I think that was it to that case. I hope you enjoyed that, and um, I have a really exciting case for the next time. So I hope you tune in, and we are going to finish up the scarf and see all of the color transitions, and then I will seam it close. Okay, so here is the finished product. You'll see all the color transitions came out quite nice. All the blues and greens and light blue, white, light green. So it came out quite nice. The only thing I did not like was when I closed the infinity scarf. I originally slip stitched it to close, and it, because my first row was so loose, it just looked like it was pulling. So then what I ended up doing was taking the tapestry needle, and I seamed it closed. So now this is the wrong side. On the right side, it has a better closure look to me. So that's how it looked closed. You can barely see it, but that is the seam. And next time, I would like for it to be a little wider, and maybe it won't be so long. The finished product is really long, but I'm able to like wrap it around a couple times, wrap it around my neck to create like the double, triple look. So, all in all, came out pretty nice. And that was a nice, pretty, easy stitch that worked up really quickly. See the stitch.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that pattern for a nice quick infinity scarf that looks great with color transition, self-striping yarn. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. My next video is going to be about my first cardigan that I did. I crocheted a cardigan. It came out amazing, and I'm going to show the cardigan and talk a little bit about my initial fear of doing my first sweater and how I got over it and the process of getting it done. And it only took 3 days. It was amazing. And I am doing a second one, same pattern, but I'm scaling it way down to fit a toddler. So the pattern only comes in adult sizes, but I am going to scale it down somehow and make one for a size 5T, 6T. Person, so for my daughter. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.